Get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. We got Joe Rogan and Shane Smith. Shane Smith, the founder of Vice, co-founder, just extremely uninformed. So uninformed that I'm like, this is not a mistake. Nobody is this uninformed on immigration and the border. This has to be intentional. The things that he's saying right now. Now, everybody knows about Vice. Vice went very woke. They went very broke. Shane Smith, co-founder, now has his own podcast. It's still called Vice News, I believe, and he does a weekly thing. And Joe Rogan owns him politely. I don't know if you've ever seen Joe do this, where he doesn't get really combative, but he does bring up a bunch of points, and he kind of pushes those in front of the person who has a different opinion. And he handles it quite well, but I'm just so surprised. Somebody who I used to look up to so much, Shane Smith, so misinformed. After we listen to this clip, I am going to debunk everything Shane's saying. That's basically what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you immigration like I have so many times on this channel, and the border and how porous it is. Let's get into it.
Sort of, it's a lot
Like
of it's connected to
correct?
woke stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
politically correct. A lot of it's connected to ideology. Like they'll have a super positive gaslighting version of what's going on at the border. You
Right.
know, and they do it because they have to.
Super positive?
Yeah, super positive. Like, you know, it's important. Immigration's important, and you know, it's very difficult for these people otherwise. Like,
Okay.
And they have this like, yeah, okay. Also terrorists. Okay. Also murderers and getting released from Venezuelan prisons, making their way across the border.
Yeah,
All that's real.
But there's two sides to that story. That's the one thing too. Like 100%. So I when I did my dive into immigration, you're like, because the reason why I got into it is you see the gates opening up and
Right.
people coming through, and I'm like, hold on a second. I've been reporting on the border for, I don't know, 10 years. There's no gate where people run through the gate, right?
Right.
And then you look into the thing, and it's like, oh yeah, like that was before the border, it's after the border, and they were trying to get to the border, because what they try to do is like basically touch the fence so that the border guards will then come so that they can get processed, right? And so like the gates open and all that, and the whole like open border, right? It's not true. But
what do you mean it's not true?
It's not. They don't have an open border where people are just coming in. Like, look, I'm an immigrant. Like, I know how it works. You have to come in. And
Have
it's
you
really
been
hard.
down to the south?
Yeah, we've been down to the south. We've rode the beast. We're in the Darien Gap. Look, hold on. Before I get into it, but there's on the other side. Yes, it's true. So there's an immigration problem, a huge immigration problem, and there are bad people getting through, and there are cartels running things, and there are illegal people, and there are all this stuff. And by the way, the Republicans have a great message that they stay on. The Democrats don't have a response to that message, right? It's a political fucking quagmire. But I don't care about the political quagmire. I'm like, let's go down. We talked to the head of the border guards. We talked to both the head of the border guards. We talked to sheriffs. We talked to militia dudes in Texas. We talked to everybody, right? And the problem is there's just shit on both sides, and there's no sanity when it comes to immigration. There's nobody really saying, okay, this is what's happening here, this is what's happening here, yes, this is bad, but this is this and this is that and the other thing. And there's two narratives, and one narrative is there's open borders with rapists and murderers coming in and eating the cats and eating the dogs, and then on the other side there's no real, well, that's not really happening. But what happened was that they were in Mexico, and now that they're being released in here, and here's the stats: 80% are come to their meetings, like their whatever the it is, I'm forgetting the word now, but when they get like after they get processed, but they get processed and then they have to come to a meeting and a meeting and a meeting, and the Democrats are like, yeah, it's 85%, and the Republicans are, it's like 90% don't come and 85% do come, and you're like, well, where's the stats coming from? Can we not talk to Homeland? So we reached out to Homeland, we reached out to the committee that runs immigration, we reached out to everybody, and this is why it gets so frustrating, is because nobody is like, every answer is different. Every answer is completely different. Sorry to interrupt, but this is why I find it fascinating, because there are, especially on immigration, there are so many givens about what means, and in actual fact, like an open border doesn't mean an open border. It doesn't mean you can fucking walk across the border into America. That doesn't happen.
But some people are walking across the border into America.
They're getting smuggled, or they're trying to get to the border where they give themselves up to border guards who then process them. They become processed there, they get kicked out, they go back, they stay here, and then they get whatever. There's 50 different things that can happen. But like, to me, when I saw the open border, so they'll have a tweet, right? Mm-hmm. And it'll say open borders, and they'll have a gate opening with people running through that gate. So you think like, oh, that's the gate to America that people are running through.
Well, there's a lot of openings. I mean, that's the thing about
it. Turns out that footage is all, of course, not true. There are openings in the sense of people can smuggle themselves in through the desert at night.
Well, you're saying smuggle, but people just go across on their own accord too. It's not just like smuggling.
Well, there's a lot of smuggling.
There's a lot of smuggling.
A lot of it. I mean, a lot of it is run by the cartels.
Yeah.
And which is bad.
It's horrible.
Horrible.
Well, there's a lot of missing children.
Exactly.
That's what's really scary. It's like somewhere in the neighborhood of 300,000 missing children.
It's very bad.
Scary.
Very scary. But I'm just saying, like, when you get into immigration as a thing, we're getting into it now.
So you get two narratives.
Two completely different narratives, and near the twain shall meet. That's the interesting thing, is usually, eventually, you can get down to something.
Right.
And on this one, it literally depends on who you're talking to.
Right.
A sip of water.
Yeah, that's what's scary about today, is that it's hard to figure out, and depending upon what tribe you're a part of. You know, if you're on the tribe of the right, you think one thing. You're on the tribe of the left.
Even if you're tribeless, I'm sitting there going, okay, so they'll talk to them about something. So I remember when I was interviewing Obama at the end of his presidency, I was like, what are your big, and all he wanted to talk about was the Republicans. He didn't want to talk about his presidency. So I went to go see Speaker Boehner because I was just talking about Speaker, who, by the way, lovely guy, great guy, and he wanted to talk about his thing. And so you talk. And again, there the twain shall meet. And you're like, at some point, you got to get down to this kernel of truth. And on immigration, it's almost impossible to find. Or maybe it is impossible to find.
Well, the bottom line is a lot of people are being brought into this country and then being shipped to swing states. That's real. That's undeniable. The percentage of people that are in swing states, of illegal immigrants moving to swing states, is off the hook. It's crazy. It's a bizarre number. It seems to be a strategy. It seems to be a strategy.
Because
then you
they can't vote.
Of course you can eventually.
They can't.
They're trying to do that.
I mean, you can vote like in 10, 20 years.
Well,
is that
first
what
of all,
it's like going to be
you have no ID voting, okay, right? This is something that they're pushed in California, and they pushed a lot of places. There's only one reason to have no ID. That's to have people that can vote that shouldn't be voting. That's the only reason. If you only want the people to vote that should be voting, you ask for ID.
Right.
Just like you ask for ID for everything else. For getting on an airplane,
I believe in ID. I'm just saying.
But listen to me. The only reason to have no ID, the only reason to have no ID, and to push that, and it's only being pushed by the Democrats. There's only one reason that makes any logical sense. You want people to vote that probably shouldn't be voting, so you can get some extra votes. That's the only thing that makes sense. So then, if you have people like Nancy Pelosi, who's openly talked about giving amnesty to the people that are already here, you have voters now. So you have voters in swing states that you brought into this country and you provided them an amazing life, and the Democrats brought them there. They're going to be loyal to the Democrats, especially if the Democrats continue to provide them with housing and money. And why would you vote that out? Why would you vote for a bunch of people that want to deport you? They're talking about mass deportations.
Yeah.
Imagine if you came here from Haiti, you lived a terribly poor life in Haiti, now you have a good job in Springfield, Ohio, and you're like, I can't believe we're in America. This is amazing. And someone comes along and gives you the ability to vote. And then another group is saying, we're going to mass deportate you because you people are eating all the dogs and all the cats. Then there's like this of course you're getting voters. You're bringing in voters and you're getting voters. You're going to get them to vote for you.
That's something I haven't seen. I'm not denying it or fighting. That's something we haven't seen, like personally.
Right, we haven't seen it, but it's clearly a strategy that you could employ. And if you were going to employ that, wouldn't you move those people to swing states? You would. And if you find out that there's an app that you can use, and you use this app, and they'll let you in the country, you can schedule a way to illegally move to the country, and then you're legally protected once you've done that. So it's basically an open border.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like
I do. I know what the app.
You know how hard it was for you to become an American citizen. Okay, it was very difficult. You came from Canada.
It took a lot of time.
Right, it takes a long time. Chamath was explaining this.
Long time to vote. Long time to do the thing.
And you have to give a reason why you're supposed to be there. You have to be an exceptional person.
Yeah, you have to study, which I did, and I got 100% on my testing. And
I have a couple of friends of mine who are just coming here from England, and they wanted me. I had to do this visa thing for them, give them a recommendation. But you have to be exceptional. You have to be something special, or you can get on that app and you can just come over.
Look, I'm not going to get too into the app because I only did it through interviews, but the app is an actual thing that tracks the people who come into the country. It's done by Homeland.
It allows you to schedule.
It's Homeland following them around.
It allows you to schedule an entrance into the country.
Yeah, they're doing it to try to stop the waves of the illegals and making it somewhat legal. And in any case,
it seems like it simplifies people being able to get into the country illegally.
I'm actually not going to defend it or talk about it anymore because I know the app.
Oh my God, he tapped, Joe. He said, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Does Joe stop? Nope.
I know what you're talking about. And I know you're right. It does. People do, and they sign up to it, and then they come and they get processed, and then they wait for their thing, and blah, blah, blah.
Well, it was the big argument on the debate between J.D. Vance and Tim Walz.
Yeah.
And they tried to frame it as if this had existed for a long time, and that's when J.D. Vance had to step up and stop them and say, you said you weren't going to fact check, and this is whether that's not true. That app did not exist. You can literally schedule it. It used to be for people that are already here.
Yeah.
Like for, kids that were born in Mexico but have lived their entire life in America. Yeah, we got to figure out a way to citizenship for those folks. That's crazy. I know a girl, she's 28 years old, and she came over here when she was a baby, and she's not an American citizen because her family's from Mexico. Yeah. That's crazy. To me, that's crazy. That doesn't make any sense. She's been here her whole life. She's a goddamn American. Yeah. Like, let's figure that out. I have no dog in the race. I was literally just trying to get to some sort of, what are the facts? I didn't. Like, that's one thing. Like, I talked to everybody I could on both sides. And again, it's so confusing that even now I'm like, after having, I'm like, it seems like a strategy.
It could be. It could be a strategy, and there's a strategy on both sides for sure. But it's just like it's so f***ed up to try to find the facts on this stuff. Right. Everybody has facts. Don't like I'm going to be inundated with them. Everyone has tons of facts. But what are the facts?
Because what's real?
Exactly.
Right. Well, that's with so many things. I mean, we had that with COVID. We have that with the Ukraine war. Like, who's responsible? Is it NATO? Is it like what? Did someone cross a red line? Would someone violate an agreement? What is happening in Israel?
What are the facts?
Right? Are they really hiding in tunnels? Like, is Israel really shooting aid workers? What is going on? What are the real facts?
What are the facts? And that's what I want to do on the podcast. And sometimes you get there, and sometimes you don't. And immigration obviously being a very interesting one, and I'm going to continue on it because I'm like, it's not satisfactory. Although maybe that's just the answer. The answer is it's such a huge and confusing issue.
Well, it is absolutely a huge and confusing issue. Yeah. And also, if you're a human being, you have empathy.
You have compassion.
If I lived in Ecuador or wherever these folks are from, and I found out you could just cross America, or you could get on your app and you can get into America, 100% I would do it. And you would too. And
man, wow. And you know what? Joe's right. You would, but at the same time, you still, even as one of the people doing that, you wouldn't want all of the bad people that you encountered when you were going through the Darien Gap, fighting for your life to get to America. You still wouldn't want those people in. You would still have that little bit of self-preservation in your mind, like, oh, all the bad that I escaped from my country, I don't want that coming into this country. You'd still have that. So there's empathy, and then there's also like common sense, and people have that too, right? Yeah, that's Shane Smith, ladies and gentlemen. Terribly uninformed. He's like, it's just impossible to get the facts. Hey, no, it's not. What are you talking about? It's impossible to get to the facts. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. I don't know what happened to Shane Smith, guys, but he's not a journalist anymore. I don't know what to tell you. And I can't believe it. Listen, the only reason I picked up a camera to begin with 12 years ago, I think, maybe more, was because Vice existed. I wanted to be one of those guys. I wanted to work for a guy like Shane Smith. I wanted to be a part of that company. I was trying to get application. I wanted to be a part of that company so bad. And to see that this is where he is now, just completely... and here's the thing. You guys let me know in the comments. Do you think he's just compromised? Or do you think he just really doesn't know how to find facts? I feel like he kind of knows how to find facts. Because he just said, Joe's talking about strategy, how the Dems are using this whole thing as a strategy. And he's like, oh, there's a strategy on both sides. What are you talking about? There's no strategies for illegal immigrants on the Republican side. There's none. Their strategy is stop. That's their strategy. More border wall, stop, and stop letting them in. Stop making voter ID something that's illegal, California. That's their strategy is like, and then you come to Trump. It's like, Trump's is like, we're going to get them all out of here. That's the only strategy. Trump's not like, well, they're here, let's try and get some votes. Trump's like, no. You could be in this crowd. You're out of here. That's the strategy that they have. So there's not a strategy on both sides. Let's just go into the whole clips that I have here. And the one thing that he said that I have written down, he just said that footage is not true. So he's talking about footage like this as they break through the fence. that he said doesn't exist, overwhelming these people. This is at Eagle Pass. No, this is El Paso, Texas. They're breaking through, deciding that they're going through no matter what. He's just saying footage like this is not true. It's just not real. Like, what? What are you talking about? Of course it's real. He's just saying stuff like this is just not real. Or he's saying it's really old, or it's before the border or after border. Like, what are you talking about? There is an open, people are walking in. What does he think? He thinks there's an obstacle course before us?
About 100 illegal immigrants, again, mainly made up of Chinese and young men from Turkey. A Border Patrol van was actually playing audio in Mandarin, giving instructions to the Chinese. We talked to a Turkish man who spoke English, who said he sold everything he had to get here to the United States. And he also expressed shock at how easy it was for them to just walk across the border into the United States without any resistance. And he said Americans should be worried about who's coming into the country. Take a listen. Did you have to pay a cartel?
Yes.
How much?
Around 10,000.
10,000?
Yes. In fact, the American people is right, completely true. Who come into this country, they don't know. Well, okay, I'm good, but how if they're not good? How they're killer, psychopath, else? No guarantee of that. Why, like no security, no security check, no background check.
No security check, no background check. You're worrying about who's crossing the border?
Yes. Of course, me, because I'm like, people are not look normal.
He's just one of those Turkish Republicans. You know, they have him on both sides. One of those illegal immigrant Turkish Republicans who just finished dealing with cartels and paying them $10,000. You know, they have him on both sides. You know how it got. You guys know how it is, right? Wow. Absolutely ridiculous. And you know what? I was going to save this clip, but I want to go to this clip now. There's a gentleman here. Let me silence. So right now, this gentleman that I'm showing you, he's driving along the border. Now, what he's trying to do in this video, he's trying to show you that even though Texas was set up and putting a certain barrier on a certain flow spot, a high density flow spot, he's trying to show people that that's not the only spot that Texas had to worry about. And he's actually taking a drive down half a mile, he says here, and he's just showing exactly what Shane was saying. And this is the border. This is not after the border. This is the border that he's at right now. He's in Texas, and he's only doing this drive because he wanted people to see what a short drive it was to get to this point right here. No armed guards, no nothing, literally just open. So Texas was dealing with a high flow area. It was their highest point. That's where they put up the shipping containers and the barbed wire and all that stuff. And that's where the media was focusing. And that's what Biden wanted taken down. But this gentleman who's from Texas wanted to show everybody like, hey, that's not the only spot to worry about. I think he says a little something too. I'll play that for you.
Where are the AR-15s? Where's the razor wire? Where's the gates? That's half a mile from where the media is blowing up that Texas versus the feds, that we're having this big battle. So that was one gate. That was the very first gate that I saw. We drove down a little bit more. There's one. It had a chain on it. So you keep driving down the road. You got Trump's wall doing its job.
So you have another opening here. So again, these are other flow areas. Now, it is possible that nobody goes through there, but also if there's millions of people trying to come through a border, they're probably going to find the spots where there's nobody patrolling and it's open. Now, I will say, just to steel man it, or I don't know, just to question it, there could be people down past that point, right? I wouldn't say that there's a likelihood that he just arrived on everybody's lunch break. I think there's just open spots. There's a lot of open spots, right? And this guy's kind of like, he's one of those guys that's like, I ain't political, you know, and I ain't for like Donald Trump. I ain't really political. I ain't really political, but sometimes I got to show you guys a little something. He's one of those guys. I've grown to really not like fence sitters. I gotta be honest. This is a 4-minute video. As you guys know, I'm on X. Everything that I show you on X, I will repost to there. So you go to my page, you'll see everything that I'm about to show you, the full video. Sometimes I'm just showing you clips. Sometimes I'm showing you full videos. But, just focusing on what he said, this footage is not true. This footage is at most what you're going to see here is what? This is what, 8 months old, this footage?
Like earlier this morning, take a look at this. Before the sun came up, we were shooting this video. It gets cold out here, so these migrants start campfires all over the place in an effort to stay warm. They'll go into the desert and pull brush out, light it up. They'll find trash, basically anything they can find to stay warm out here, because it does get pretty chilly, and some of these guys have been camping out here for several days waiting for Border Patrol to process them. We talk about the nonstop flow here. Take a look at this video we shot late yesterday afternoon. There was another breach in the border wall, and you'll see masses of hundreds of people crossing illegally and then walking down the dirt path on this border wall right to where I'm standing giving you this live shot. Border Patrol is overwhelmed. They're trying to process people out of here as fast as they can, but it's hard because there is a never-ending supply of people coming through the border wall and crossing here illegally. We've had a chance to talk to a lot of the guys out here. Almost all of them have said they are not seeking asylum. They're here for opportunity, for work in the United States, or they want to link up with their family, and they all have cities they're planning to go to here. Take a listen. Where in the United States do you want to go?
Detroit.
California.
New York City.
Nueva York.
New York City. I have family members there.
Miami.
¿Y a dónde vas en los Estados Unidos? ¿Qué ciudad?
Omaha.
Omaha, Nebraska.
Miami.
Puma.
Oklahoma?
Igual. Sur Carolina.
Espanol? Okay. And back out here live, you can see.
So again, just to say, all Shane had to do was talk to this guy. He works for Fox. Maybe that's why Shane didn't want to talk to a gentleman like this. His name's Bill Melugan. Bill Melugan. He could have easily talked to him. He works for Fox. He was on the border for days, perhaps even a week. He was showing day after day when they were having those record-breaking surges of like 300,000, I think it's 320,000 people coming through the border. He was the one covering it. So to sit back and say the footage is not true, it's from other places, it's just, I can't sit back. The natural inclination is to be like, oh, this guy's not smart. This guy's dumb. I can't go there with Shane Smith. I think this seems intentional. It's intentional to say this about the border. You notice he kept on saying both sides, both sides, both sides. When someone's on the left and they want to seem like they're in the middle, they'll always talk about both sides. But in this situation, it's so glaringly false that the fact that he's even trying to do it, it just makes him look silly.
Jordan.
Yeah.
Why'd you come to Egypt? Why'd you come to America?
For a job.
For a job?
Yeah.
You know it's illegal to cross the border like this, right?
Yeah.
You don't care?
Yes, I'm okay.
Hi guys, where are you guys from?
Now, I will say in that guy's defense, he seems like he didn't know English that well. I think he said, I know care. I don't think he realized he was saying, I don't care, flippantly. But his actions show that he doesn't care. So there's that. So these guys are walking across. Exactly what Shane said doesn't happen and can't happen is happening. They have walked across. These gentlemen aren't processed. The Border Patrol doesn't process people and then say, walk all the way through Texas to New York. That's not how it works. It's not how it works at all. And everybody knows that. So I just found that almost hilariously dishonest by Shane Smith. And you know what? We have more. I'm going to keep on going with this. Good job to Bill also. And then if you want to not sound like a journalist, to Shane Smith, if you want to not sound like a journalist, the one thing that he said was, oh, well, we wanted to get the root of things, and we couldn't get an answer, so we just went to Homeland. What? First off, that's not a regular sentence that journalists can say. No, we just went to the people of Homeland Security, and they were very accommodating. And then on top of that, that means you went to this guy. You went to Mayorkas, the guy who won't even admit there's a crisis.
You testified for years, really, that the border is secure. And now in recent comments, President Biden says it's not secure. Do you now agree with President Biden's assessment that it's not secure?
Kristen, the challenges of the border have been longstanding. The president correctly noted that those challenges have existed for 10 years.
So you agree with him?
In fact, even longer. There is no question that we have a broken system. There is no question that we have a challenge, a crisis at the border. And
now, this is what he said. He says that now. This is what he said before. before Biden switched, which really made this guy seem real shady. So before Biden had to admit it, because they were having these record-breaking months of so many people coming through, this is what he had to say about the crisis going on.
The chief of the Border Patrol, Raul Ortiz, testified before Congress that some areas of the border are in a crisis situation. Do you agree?
I think that we face a very serious challenge in certain parts of the border.
Do you view what's happening right now on the border as a crisis?
I view it as a significant challenge.
Why won't you say the word crisis?
You know what? Because I have tremendous faith in the people of the Department of Homeland Security. And a crisis speaks to me of a withdrawal from our mission.
Man, me and my buddy were talking about it today. The things that these people get away with. Good God. What they get away with, what they're allowed to do. He's just allowed to look at you right in the face and be like, it's not a crisis. It's not a crisis. Literally, somebody's trying to pull you out of their car. They're just like, they're speaking Spanish, and he's just like, that's not a crisis. That happens. That happens all the time. It's completely normal. Just with his one eyebrow up. And yeah, more fake footage in Shane Smith's opinion. Strolling through, getting counted up. Shane Smith couldn't find answers. I still find that clip of him and Joe Rogan talking is just ridiculous. I'm glad Joe Rogan somewhat stood his ground, but he could have really cut into Shane on this. Shane. He could have really cut into Shane Smith on this one, because just to say, oh, you can't find answers. What are you talking about? There have been so many people who have gone to the border where you see them loading people up. You see them loading people up in the cars. They're walking through. And yeah, this might be at a point where that gate's open. And yeah, they might close it after. But like that first clip that I showed you, there are people, there are places in the border where if these people chose, if they had the ability to get to, they could just go down and just walk across. And that's why we have the term getaways within this whole thing of immigration that we talk about. Because there are points like that that are just open, and no one has any idea how many people go through those open points. And also, no one has any idea how many people decide to scale this wall, because that's a thing that they do as well. Listen to this.
Roberts in Washington, you believe this, Sandra?
Which means they are here, and this is just an unbelievable development. I'm Sandra Smith in New York. Good to be with you, John. This is America Reports. Let's get right to Bill Malugin. He's got this news for us. He's live out of Douglas, Arizona right now, where Vice President Kamala Harris is set to visit later this afternoon. Bill, the details of this news, what do you have?
Yeah, and Sandra, bear with me. We just got these numbers moments ago, but it's a jaw dropper to say the least. So to set the stage here, let me just explain what these numbers mean. ICE has something called a non-detained docket. Essentially what that is it means migrants who were encountered by DHS but are no longer in federal custody. So who's on this non-detained docket? It's illegal immigrants who were caught and released at the border, released with the court date years away. They're in immigration proceedings, combined with illegal immigrants who have already been ordered deported from the country by a judge but are still here roaming the country. So keep that in mind, this non-detained docket. According to a letter that the acting director of ICE just sent to Texas Congressman Tony Gonzalez, on ICE's non-detained docket, they're currently tracking 425,000 non-citizens who have been convicted of a crime. Of that number, over 13,000 non-citizens have convictions for homicide and are on the non-detained docket, meaning they're roaming the country right now. On top of that, there are another 15,811 non-citizens convicted of sexual assault who are roaming the country right now on ICE's non-detained docket. It doesn't stop there. Those are convictions. The ICE director also says there are currently just under 1,900 non-citizens on the non-detained docket who have pending homicide charges who are roaming the country, and another 4,250 non-citizens who have pending sexual assault charges who are roaming the country on the non-detained docket. So people's eyes might be glazing over right now with all the numbers we just threw at you. Just to put it in a nutshell right here, what we've learned from the acting ICE director via this letter to Congressman Tony Gonzalez is right now there are over 13,000 illegal aliens convicted of homicide who are roaming the United States right now. There are another 15,811 illegal aliens roaming the country right now who have been convicted of sexual assault, and there are even more who are facing charges for homicide and charges for sexual assault. So this just goes to show, guys, the non-detained docket has exploded under the Biden administration to over, I believe it's 7.3 million. They're anticipating it could hit 8 million by the end of the year. But looking at the numbers on this letter right here, there are currently over 600,000 non-citizens on ICE's non-detained docket who are either convicted, or 600,000 non-citizens on this non-detained docket who are roaming the country right now. Of that, 425,000 have already been convicted of crimes. 222,000 are pending crimes. And again, the most serious crimes we just told you about.
I just want to, again, him talking about old footage, this, that. This story was produced on October 13th. That's just 4 days ago. Some of the footage that you're seeing is from around June 1st to about, the end of June. So to say that this is old footage and this is just not true and, there's something on both sides, Shane sounds to me like someone who actually doesn't want to say the answers because it's going to upset someone that's, I don't know, the powers that be above him. I don't even know what to call it. I mean, he's still a part of Vice. Vice didn't go woke on its own. He is a founder. I mean, I just wild to hear these numbers also. Now let's go over to the app. So Joe Rogan was talking about the app, and I'm just going to show you what's going on. I'm just going to show you how it starts, and then we're going to end off with Trump talking about the app, just so you guys get a clear view of what's actually going on. Let's just go right here, okay? There's 4 images here. Let's start with this one. So this is them when they first go to the app and schedule their meetings, because their meetings are actually made at a point like this that you're seeing on the screen. It'll be like under Bridge 3, and it'll literally say this on the app, under Bridge 3, 12 a.m., 12 p.m. So here, check this out. Let's see here. So now these people are waiting. They are looking to get picked up. There's no real audio here. It's not really a news report. It was just someone taking camera footage. So these people get rounded up because they all went to that app. The app said you have to meet here. That's somebody who's processing them through. This is still illegal immigration. This is still people walking over the border, but sometimes they end up in planes. Sometimes they end up in buses. It's just a way to expedite the process. So when Shane hears that and he's talking about people being legal, this is the exact same thing as well. They just have a bunch of them and they're all getting processed. But these people did the whole same thing that you see. They went from whatever country they were in through the Darien Gap, everything like that, probably had the cartel's help. The cartel ended up taking money off of them and they bring them here. The cartel doesn't have to get them across the border and into New York. That's what it makes. It sounds like that as you hear smuggling over and over again. Like cartel members are bringing people into the U.S. They know how porous the border is, so they bring them to a certain point and they just escort them through. That's all. They act as Sherpas in a way. Here's another one. Same thing. And then this is what this person who was filming all this footage, this is what he found in the daytime. Now, if you don't know what these are bracelets that the cartel will give you. So they know who you are, what cartel you're a part of, where you're supposed to be, how much money you paid, what kind of service you'll get. That blue might be a VIP. That white one there might be a lower level, back of the bus. You get in the trunk, but you get to sit in the front and act like you're one of us. Who knows? But these are actually from the cartel. The cartel puts this on every single person that they're getting to the southern border. So now let's hear a little bit about this. We're going to go into a little deeper Now, this is the buses before they leave going into the United States of America.
With the salt in the wound. So I'm at the Ped West port of entry in San Ysidro, California. It's closed off, closed, cerrado. You can't go in here. It's secured by the National Homeland Security. But we've got a bus lined up. You can see the headlights of that bus right there. That bus is picking up CBP One applicants. Right over here, we've got a bus stop. We've got this little gray door you can see in the distance there. That's where they sneak them out. This whole place is closed down. Only closed down for American citizens going into Mexico and closed down for Mexican citizens coming into America. This is only being used for CBP One illegal entry into America. Now, that's salt in the wound. The real threat was what I saw yesterday, and I want to play some of this footage. I went back to Lukeville, Arizona, and what I saw should shock every single American. As soon as I got there, there was a tent of 150 fighting age men, mostly from West Africa, Muslim countries in Africa, the Middle East, and India. And what they told me is that they actually, the new place that they're getting all of these people from, right here, you can see the footage right there on the screen. Those tents, that was yesterday, and this is happening every single day. 150 of them. They said they had over 500 yesterday alone in that one location. 500. And what scared me, now I went up, the Border Patrol, you could tell, was so frustrated. They wanted me to get in there and film it and show you close up. As soon as I did that, at the end of this video, I had a guy come out from National Park, said I couldn't be that close. I couldn't film this. I had to go across the street. And our own national park, our national monument down there. This is what's coming into America. But the scariest part, Border Patrol came up to me and he said, you need to know and you need to report this. We're getting huge numbers from Syria right now. And if we can show the picture, they sent me a picture of one of the guys from Syria. If we can show that.
So that's what's going on in regards to that. And I just show you all of this because it's just an expedited process. Laura? So it's an expedited process with a loophole. And that's why Kamala Harris is able to say the numbers have gone down dramatically. That's why Biden can say, we have made the numbers go down dramatically. It's not that they're blocking people. It's not that they're sending people back or reinstating remain in Mexico. It's that they're going through this expedited process to get these people some legal status and then bringing them right into the country. So the numbers actually haven't gone down. The numbers just kind of shifted. It's like, oh, this guy's not an illegal. He's a what is it, CBP One applicant. So now you go from illegal because you walked right up, then you use the app, all of a sudden you're in another bracket. It's ridiculous. Here's JD Vance fact-checking the fact checkers in the debate about this exact topic.
But thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn now to the economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
The rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on. So there's an application called the CBP One app, where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by our own
Thank you, Senator, for describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator. We have so much. Thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
So that was JD Vance talking about that and, you know, just putting these ladies in their place. And then here's Trump talking about the real unheard thing that nobody really wants to touch on here.
And yet they have airplanes, beautiful airplanes, going and picking them up and dropping them into the middle of our country, where I would say that the states, it means we really have 50 border states. No, they're dropping them into the middle of our country all over the place. They fly them in. Think of that. They fly them in by jets. They're flying in all the time. And Art, they don't count those numbers, do they? They don't talk about them. When they fly in, and then they have a special app, right? They have an app where the cartels are allowed to use the app to get their people in. Do you believe this? It's an app for cartels.
I love the difference between J.D. Vance explaining it and Donald Trump explaining it. It's so good, the contrast. I love it. But J.D. Vance explained it in a very proper way, but Donald Trump's talking about the part that nobody is saying out loud. The cartel is using this app, and why wouldn't they? It would just make sense. Makes it 100 times easier. Let's just get one guy. Listen, we got 100 people here. Get on that app. They probably have 6 guys just getting on the app, registering all of them. They have a meeting spot. The cartel probably brings them close to the meeting spot, leaves them there, and goes. Takes their money and everything. And they do get in by plane. They get in by bus as well. It is something that's happening. So for Shane Smith, I mean, I did this research in an hour. Now, did I bring you solid, I know for a fact I'm standing next to that guy in the border? No. But I did go and do a little bit of research and started finding all of this stuff. So there's no reason why Shane Smith couldn't find this stuff as well. That's why I had to gravitate towards a little bit of dishonesty. And shout out to Bill Melguin. Okay? Shout out to this guy, because this is 4 months ago. Another video I showed of him was 10 months ago. And the last one was in October. This guy lives at the border. Like Fox is just like, guess what? You're staying at the border forever. Make sure your hair looks nice. How's he get his hair that nice? Just he's living at the border right now, man. It's amazing. Shout out to this guy doing some real work. I wish Shane Smith would do the same kind of work that this guy is doing. Interesting. So you guys let me know what you think in the comments. We're at like documentary level here right now, 41 minutes. I'm going to end it here, but let me know what you think of Shane Smith and his answers in regard to immigration and the border. Like, subscribe, turn on the notifications, helps us tremendously. Other than that, I'm out.